Hi, good morning. Today we will do an interview for my research project. Thank you for participating, Miss Anne. Let's start with the first question. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I balance structure with flexibility by observing each child's daily needs and being willing to adjust the schedule. For example, if a child is tired or upset, I might extend a quiet time or delay transitions. This ensures that routines support rather than constrain children's individual routines and well-being.
How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routine?
I prioritize early conversations with families about their child's habits and preferences. I also invite them to share updates whenever routines change so we can adapt accordingly. This ongoing dialogue helps us create a daily routine that reflects the child's needs and respects family input.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I use daily chats, written notes, and digital communication apps to keep families informed. I make sure to ask open ended questions to encourage them to share their observations and experiences, which helps me support the child better.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in day-to-day care of their children?
I actively incorporate family feedback into routines and share how their ideas have influenced care decisions. For example, if a parent suggests a calming technique, I try it out and update them on its success, reinforcing the partnership between the home and care.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policy?
I respect cultural and personal parenting styles by learning about family values and routines. I then work within the service policies to blend these practices. And when conflicts arise, I engage families in respectful conversation to find workable compromises.
How do you ensure team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routine, experiences, and family input?
We use detailed handover notes, shared digital platforms, and verbal briefings to keep all team members updated. This ensures children receive consistent care and that all the educators are aware of family preferences and recent experiences.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I implement consistent routines supported by visual schedules and familiar cues like songs or countdowns. This helps children anticipate transitions and feel secure throughout the day.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine help a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging time?
One child struggled with frustration during group cleanup time. Introducing a song that marked the start of cleanup created a predictable cue, which helped the children understand what was expected and manage their emotions more effectively.
And how do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I look for engagement, ease in transitions, and child's willingness to interact and explore. Changes in behavior or withdrawal can indicate insecurity, prompting me to adjust routines or seek input from families.
And lastly, how do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of the children?
While maintaining a general routine, I stay attentive to children's interests and emotional signals, allowing time extensions or modifications when needed. This balance supports both their need for security and their natural curiosity and emotional well-being.
Thank you, Miss Anne. Would you like to add anything else?
Nothing, that's all.
Thank you. Today we are doing interview for my research projects. Thank you for joining, Miss Ariane.
You're very welcome.
So I'll start with the first question. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I believe routines should feel like a comforting guide rather than a strict schedule. I stay attentive to each child's mood and energy, adjusting timing or activities when they need extra rest, play, or support. This flexibility helps all children feel seen and cared for.
How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routine?
Families know their children best, so I actively invite them to share their child's habits and preferences. We have conversations from the beginning and keep that dialogue ongoing. So routines reflect the child's home life and family values.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I make time every day to connect with families, whether it's a quick chat, sharing photos or notes, or using Kinderloop app. I also ask questions and listen with genuine interest, which encourages families to feel comfortable sharing with me.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I always show respect by acting on family feedback and letting them know how their input has influenced care, whether it's a small change or important adjustment. I communicate openly and thank families for partnering with us.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I usually approach each family with respect and curiosity about their unique parenting styles. I then find ways to blend their practices with our services guidelines, always prioritizing the child's safety and well-being and discussing openly if any adjustments are needed.
How do you ensure the team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routine, experiences, and then the family input?
We always keep clear records and have thorough handovers so every team member knows what's happening with each child. This ensures children receive consistent and thoughtful care no matter who is working.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I use familiar songs, visual timetables, and gentle warnings before transitions. These tools help children feel safe and understand what's coming next, which supports their emotional well-being.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine helped a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
Yes, I care for a child who felt anxious during meal times. So I introduced a consistent routine like washing hands, sitting together, and a welcoming song. Help them know what to expect and feel calm throughout the experience.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I usually watch for signs such as relaxed posture, willingness to join activities, and positive interaction with peers and educators. If a child seems withdrawn or unsettled, I reflect on possible causes and communicate with their family for insights.
How do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of children?
Okay, while routines provide stability, I stay flexible and responsive. If children show curiosity or emotional needs that call for a change, I adapt the routine to support their engagement and feelings, always putting their well-being first.
Thank you, Ms. Ariam, for participating. Would you like to add anything else?
You're very welcome, but I think that's all for now.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Harry, for taking time to speak with me today. As part of my research project, I am exploring how predictable daily routines in early childhood education settings support the development of emotional regulation in young children. I'll be asking you a few questions about your current practices and experiences. Feel free to share honestly and in as much detail as you are comfortable with. And I appreciate your openness in sharing. Let's begin. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
As an educator, I view routines as a framework rather than a fixed schedule. I ensure flexibility by regular observing children's emotional and physical states and making adjustments based on their individual needs. For instance, a child who is unsettled in the morning may benefit from extra quiet time before joining group times, group activities. By remaining responsive and reflective, I create a routine that adapts to the child rather than expecting the child to conform to the routine.
How do you involve families in decision making about their child's daily routines or care practices?
Family collaboration is foundational. I engage families in routine planning through involvement interviews, regular conversation, and family meetings. I ask about home routines and preferences and revisit these regularly. Where possible, I incorporate their suggestions into the programs, ensuring that the child experiences consistency and familiarity between home and care environments.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do same with you?
I foster open communication by using a combination of daily verbal updates, digital communication tools, and formal documentations like learning journals and reflections. I make time for meaningful conversations during arrival and pickup time and encourage families to share updates about changes at home. Establishing mutual trust ensures that communication remains open, honest, and two-way.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I demonstrate that family input is valued by listening actively, implementing reasonable suggestions, and communicating outcomes. Like, for example, if a parent's preference a specific way of comforting their child, I incorporate that into our practice and let them know how it works. This shows that their voice has a real impact on their children's care and learning.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each child's family rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I approach this with culture, competence, and professionalism. I respectfully explore each family's values, routines, and parenting styles and aim to integrate these into our environment. At the same time, I ensure that our practices remain in lines with service policies and regulations. If a conflict arises, I facilitate respectfully decisions to find common ground that supports both the family and the child within our family policy framework.
How do you ensure that team members across the different shifts are informed about each child's routines, experiences, and family input?
To ensure continuity of care, I implement clear documentation systems such as shared digital records and handover logs. I also lead regular team briefly to discuss changes in routine or input from families. This consistent communication ensures that all staff, regardless of shift, are informed and able to provide seamless support for each child.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with children?
I use a range of strategies including visual schedules, predictable transitions, and consistent routines for key parts of the day such as meal, rest, and group times. These strategies help children anticipate what's next and feel more confident in their environment. Consistency support emotional regulation and a sense of security, which are essential for learning.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine help a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moments?
A child in our care used to struggle with separation anxiety. We developed a consistent morning routine that include a calm activity of their choice after drop-off. Over time, this predictability gave the child a sense of control and helped them settle more quickly. The emotional regulation that followed was a direct result of the routine offering comfort and familiarity.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I look for consistent signs such as the child's ability to engage in play, seek connection with educators, and transition smoothly between activity. I also reflect on their mood across different parts of the day, documentation, team discussions, and input from families help form a comprehensive view of the children's emotional well-being.
How do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interest and emotional cues of the children?
I maintain a flexible structure where the core routine remains predictable but is responsive for children's interest and emotional needs. For example, if child are deeply engaged in a creative activity, I may extend that period and adapt the next part of the day. This approach supports a child-led learning environment while maintaining the emotional safety that predictable routine provides.
Thank you for participating in this interview. Would you like to add anything else, Miss Harry?
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for participating once again. Hi, thank you for taking time to speak with me today. As part of my research project, I am exploring how predictable daily routines in early childhood education settings support the development of emotional regulation in young children. I'll be asking you a few questions about your current practices and experiences. Feel free to share honestly and in as much as details you can comfortable with, and I appreciate your openness in sharing. Let's begin. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet diverse needs of young children?
So we ensure that our routines is flexible and children interest oriented, supporting every child's need. For example, we set up some sensory activities for the one who are with special needs. So accordingly, we set up activities for each children depends on their interests and inputs from the families.
And how do you involve families in decisions about their children's daily routines or care practices?
We share posts on Kinderloop, and that's how we encourage families to participate, sharing their input on Kinderloop, and we also catch up with them during the drop-off or drop-on times, share about their experience with the kids at home, and we also encourage them to share if they have any feedback or input for us to specifically focus on their child's development or need.
So you already answered the third question, which is how do you share information with the families? So I'll just go to the... How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
We discuss their opinion post we implement on our daily routines through verbal communication or formal communication like email writing, as well as we do post on Kinderloop mentioning that these planning and experience has been set up as per the inputs provided by families.
Now thinking about the cultural responsiveness. In what way do you respect and incorporate each family's child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
We often set up cultural activities for children. For example, we have a belonging tree where we have family pictures of our children. We also host events where we encourage children to wear their cultural outfits. We also invite our families to share about their culture and tradition.
How do you ensure that team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routines, experiences, and family input?
We maintain a diary in the room where we provide notes for the next educator in charge. For example, we have a diary where we write down the notes that we like a feedback that we have got from our therapists for a few children who are undergoing therapy in our service, and that's how this information is passed on to all the educators that's been working in the room.
Now shifting focus more directly to children experiences, what strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
We often do activities. We basically repeat activities a few times a week to ensure that children are taking their own time to learn from the experience. Rather doing too many activities, we focus on quality, not on quantity. And we discuss about, we usually reflect upon the curriculum during our staff individual staff room meetings.
That's led me to my next question. Can you describe a time when predictable routine help a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
For example, we had a child with a special need who often likes to play with books. So we started including a library time in our routine where we take him along with his other peers to the library to have a quiet reading time. This really helped the child to manage with his emotions and regulate himself.
Thinking about the emotional cues, how do you observe and assess whether child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
We be creating a positive relationship with the child, making him or her comfortable by giving a warm hug, asking about how he's feeling. That's how we ensure that the child feeling is secure and he or she is emotionally settled.
And lastly, how do you balance predictability in routines with the need of follow the interest and emotional cues for the children?
We generally plan the curriculum or the weekly curriculum based on the children's interest from them as well as from their families, and we also ensure that the curriculum and the experience that we plan it also includes each and every child's emotional cues.
Thank you again for taking part in this interview. Your insights are incredibly valued and will contribute meaningfully to my research. Would you like to add anything, Miss Humu?
Nothing as such. Everything good.
Good morning. Today we're gonna do interviews for my research project. Thank you, Miss Masumi, for participating. Let's start with the first question. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I implement routines as a flexible framework, adapting them based on daily observations and individual children's needs. This allows me to respond promptly if a child requires additional rest, more active play, or emotional support while maintaining consistency to foster security.
How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routine?
I actively engaged families by inviting detailed discussions about their child's home routines and preference during enrollment and regularly thereafter. Maintain open communication channels to accommodate changes and respect family input in tailoring the child's day.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I use multiple communications methods, face-to-face conversations, digital platforms, and written notes to keep families well informed. I encourage reciprocal sharing by asking about the child's experiences and at home, promoting a collaborative partnership.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I demonstrate respect for family input by listening attentively, implementing their suggestions when feasible, and providing feedback on how their contributions influence the care environment and routine adjustments.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate families' child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I learn about each family's cultural and parenting values and thoughtfully interrogate this into the child's care within the framework of service policies. When necessary, I discuss any policy related boundaries with families to collaboratively find acceptable situations.
How do you ensure that the team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routine, experiences, and family input?
Our team maintains comprehensive handover notes and uses digital records accessible to all staff. Regular team meeting and verbal benefits ensure everyone is informed about children's routines, preferences, and family communications, promoting consistent care.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I establish clear routines supported by visual aids and consistent verbal codes. These strategies help children anticipate daily events, fostering a secure and stable environment.
Can you describe a time when a predictable routine helped a child to feel regulate their emotions or manage a challenging time?
One child found translation difficult and became upset during group activities. By introducing a consistent visual schedule and a quiet transition space, the child gradually developed greater emotional regulation and felt more comfortable joining the group.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I observe children's engagement levels, body language, and interactions with peers and educators. A consistent participation and positive social behaviors indicate emotional security, while any changes prompt reflection and communication with families.
And lastly, how do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of children?
I maintain a stable routine but remain responsive to children's interests and emotional stress. When children show enthusiasm or require emotional support, I adapt the schedule to accommodate their needs while ensuring overall structure remains intact.
Thank you, Ms. Mo, for participating. Would you like to add anything else?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, thank you, Mr. Kral, for participating in my interview. This is for my research project. So let's start with the first question. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I see routine as a guide, not something rigid. Each child is a different, so I try to stay in tune with how they are feeling on the day. Some children might need more time to settle in, and others might need rest earlier or want to finish something before moving on. I adjust things as I go while still keeping a consistent rhythm as they feel safe and stable.
How do you involve families in decisions about their child's daily routine?
I share updated through daily chat, our app, and learning stories. I always leave space for families to respond or ask questions, whatever it's a quick chat pick up a message during the day. I encourage them to share anything that might help me support their each better.
How do you practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I make a point of really listening to what family share. Whatever it's a concern, suggestion, or something small about their child performance, I follow through where I can, and I let them know how their input has helped us improve their child experience. Is about working in partnership.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each child's family rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I take time to understand how each family approaches parenting, culture, practice, routine, even comfort strategies. I aim to reflect those in our care wherever possible. If something needs adjusting to meet policy requirements, I have honest and respectful conversation to find a solution that works for everyone.
How do you ensure that the team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routine experiences and daily input?
We keep strong communication across shifts using shared notes, digital logs, and verbal handovers. If a family shares something with me in the morning, I make sure the rest of the team knows about it by writing it down, and share it our team chat and handover group. That's why nothing gets missed.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I can clear and consistent routine with lots of visit goals and families transitions like songs or countdown. Children thrive when they know what is coming next. So I keep the structure the same each while still making space for flexibility and choice.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine helped a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
There was a child who really struggled at rest time by keeping a predictable routine. Same story, same blanket, same quiet space. They began to settle more easily. Their consistency gave them comfort and helped reduce their anxiety, making rest time a lot more peaceful for them and the group.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled in your daily routine?
I look at how a child engages with their environment and others. Do they explore freely, join in with the play, or seek comfort when needed? If they are settled, they usually seem calm and confident. I also take note of any changes in behavior and check in with the family if I notice something new.
And lastly, how do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of children?
It's about having a flexible mindset. I keep our general routine consistent, but I am always ready to shift if a child needs emotion support or if they are really interested in something. If they are deeply engaged in a play, I will often extend that time, even if it means we run a little late for the next activity. Their emotion and learning needs come first.
Thank you, Miss Ikra. Would you like to add anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Today we're gonna do an interview for my research project. Thank you, Miss Ivy, for participating. I will ask you a few questions about it. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I view routines as a supportive structure that guides that day, but I prioritize being responsive to the individual needs of each child. I regularly observe how children respond to routine elements and adapt where necessary. If, for example, allowing more time during transition or adjusting rest times for those who need it. and flexibility ensures we are meeting developmental, emotional, and cultural needs effectively.
Thank you. How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routine?
Um, I build strong relationship with families from the start by inviting them to share their child's routine at home, and I continue to engage them through regular conversations and encourage feedback through both formal and informal means. Like also when families express a preference such as feeding routines or settling techniques, I aim to integrate those into the daily plan, ensuring the child experiences consistency and comfort.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I use multiple communication strategies to keep families informed, face to face conversations, digital platforms, and learning documentation. I make an effort to initiate discussions and ask questions about the child's well being and any changes at home. And also by modeling open communication, families feel more confident sharing insights with me that enhance continuity of care.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I ensure families know their voices matter by listening without judgment or acting on their suggestions where appropriate and following up to share outcomes. Like, for example, if a family prefers a different approach to sleep or comfort, I explain how we can integrate it into our environment and also reflect their input in planning and documentation, helping them feel actively involved.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's child's reading practices while ensuring alignment with the service policy?
Um, I take time to understand each family's values and routines by engaging in respectful, ongoing dialogue. I align these practices with I align these practices with the services policies by finding flexible and culturally sensitive ways to incorporate them. And for example, where a conflict arises, I collaborate with families to reach a solution that respects their perspective while meeting regulatory requirements and maintaining safety.
Thank you. How do you ensure the team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routine and experiences and then the family input?
We maintain consistent communication across shifts using shared documentation systems, team handovers, and internal communication tools, and also encourage team members to regularly update each other and contribute to shared records. And this ensures everyone remains aware of changes in the child's routine and any family feedback, fostering continuity of care and shared responsibility.
What strategies do you use to create a consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
To build a sense of security, I implement predictable daily routines that children can rely on. I use visual cues, routine charts, and consistent language to support transitions and expectations. These tools help children develop independence and feel safe, knowing what to expect throughout the day.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine helped a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moments?
A child in our care often became overwhelmed during group transitions. By introducing a consistent pre-transition routine, like including warning cues and calming activity, the child learned to anticipate change more comfortably. And over time, their anxiety decreased and they developed greater self regulation during those moments.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within your daily routine?
Um, I observe how a child engages with others and their environment. So, looking for signs such as sustained attention or willingness to explore and seeking comfort when needed. I also take note the patterns in their behavior during transitions or new experiences, like regular reflection, documentation, and discussions with families inform my assessment of their emotional security.
How do you balance predictability in your routines and with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of children?
I maintain a consistent overall structure but remain flexible in how we move throughout the day. And if children are deeply engaged in an activity, I allow extra time to explore. Similarly, like if a child is showing emotional distress or needs support, I adjust the schedule to prioritize their well being. And then for this, um, the responsive approach helps children feel both secure and respected as capable learners.
Thank you, Miss Ivy. Would you like to add anything?
Nothing, that's all.
Good morning. Today we are going to do an interview for my research project. Thank you for participating, Mr. Jesse.
Okay.
And then let's start with the first question. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
Well, I keep routines adaptable with serving each child's need and energy levels, adjusting activities and timings accordingly while maintaining the overall structure to provide security.
And how do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routine?
I actively ask families about their child's routines at home and encourage ongoing communications to update and modify care practices as needed.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I provide daily activity updates through conversations and digital messages and create a welcoming environment that encourages families to share relevant information freely.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I listen carefully to families' input, implement their suggestions when possible, and give feedback on how their ideas have influenced care.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I learn about family values and parenting styles and collaborate to integrate this respectfully within service guidelines and safety standards.
How do you ensure the team members across the different shifts are informed about each child's routine experience and family input?
We use thorough handover notes and team meetings to share updates ensuring consistency of care regardless of shift changes.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I use visual schedules, consistent verbal cues, and familiar routines to help children anticipate daily events and transitions.
Can you describe a time when a predictable routine helped a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
A child who struggles with change settles better when we introduce a consistent presentation routine, such as a countdown song before moving to a new activity.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I watch for signs like relaxed body languages, engagement in play, and positive social interactions, and I consult with families if concerns arises.
How do you balance predictability in routines with the need to follow the interests and emotional cues of children?
I maintain a clear routine but remain flexible to extend or modify activities based on children's interests or emotional needs to support their well-being and curiosity.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Would you like to add anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
This way are unique.
Hi, thank you for taking time to speak with me, Ms. Umandi. As part of my research project, I am exploring how predictable daily routines in early childhood education settings support the development of emotional regulation in young children. I'll be asking you a few questions about your current practices and experiences. Feel free to share honestly and in as much as details you are comfortable with. And I appreciate your openness in sharing. Let's begin. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I ensure flexibility in routines by observing each child's individual cues and adapting the daily flow when needed. And while we maintain a consistent structure to help children feel safe, I adjust timings or activities based on the child's mood, development, or energy levels. For example, if a child needs more time to finish an activity or rest earlier than usual, I make those adjustments to support their well-being.
How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routines or care practices?
I involve families by having open conversations during enrollment and regular check-ins. I also ask about their child's routines at home and encourage them to share any preferences or concerns. And if there are any changes such as toilet training or sleep routines, I work with the family to find the best approach for consistency between home and the child care.
How do you share information with families and encourage them to do the same with you?
I use daily communication tools such as apps or communication books to share updates, photos and notes about the child's day. So during drop-off and pick-up times, I always take time to share key information and invite families to let us know about anything happening at home. So this two-way communication builds trust and supports the child's continuity of care.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I listen actively to families and take their input seriously. So when they suggest adjustments or share preferences, I implement them when possible and let them know how their ideas have been considered. This shows families that they are partners in their child's care and their knowledge is respected and appreciated.
In what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's child rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I actually begin by understanding the family's cultural values and parenting practices through respectful conversations. Where possible, I incorporate these practices into our routines such as food choices, sleep arrangements, or comfort strategies, as long as they align with service policies. If there's ever a conflict, I work with families to find respectful compromises.
How do you ensure that the team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routines, experiences, and family input?
We use shared communication tools like digital platforms and communication groups to ensure all staff are aware of updates. During handovers, we verbally discuss any changes or important information about each child. This helps maintain consistency and ensures everyone is aware of the child's routine and family preferences.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with children?
I use visual schedules, consistent transition cues, and familiar songs or phrases to help children know what's coming next. And predictable routines help children feel safe and confident. Even when changes happen, I prepare children in advance so they still feel a sense of control and security.
Can you describe me a time when a predictable routine helped a child regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
One child who found transitions difficult became much calmer once we introduced a consistent tidy-up song before each change in activity. So knowing what to expect helped them feel more in control, and over time their emotional regulation improved during transitions.
How do you ensure and observe and assess whether child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within the daily routine?
I look for signs like relaxed body language, engagement in play, and willingness to interact with others. I also note how easily a child transitions between activities and how they respond to changes. Consistent positive engagement is usually a strong indicator of emotional security.
How do you balance predictability in routines with the need of the child interest and emotional cues of the children?
I maintain a consistent routine structure but allow flexibility within it. So, if children are deeply engaged in an activity, I may extend that time. Similarly, if they show signs of stress or emotional need, I adjust accordingly. This balance helps children feel secure while still respecting their individual interest and emotional states.
Thank you for joining Miss Umande. Hi, thank you Miss Val for taking time to speak with me today. As part of my research project, I am exploring how practical daily routines in early childhood education settings support the development of emotional regulation in young children. I'll be asking you a few questions about your current practices and experiences. Feel free to honestly in as much as details you are comfortable with and appreciate your openness. Let's begin. How do you ensure that routines are flexible enough to meet the diverse needs of young children?
I approach the routines with flexibility by turning into the individual needs and rhythms of each child. While we have a structured day to provide predictability and adjust things like meals, rest, or activity times based on how children are feeling. This allows them to feel safe, respected, and supported as unique individuals.
How do you involve families in decision about their child's daily routines or care practices?
From the beginning, I make time to ask families about their child's routine at home, and I revisit this conversation regularly. If there are changes or specific preferences, I invite families to share their thoughts so that we can work together to shape a routine that is consistent to supportive for their child both at home and in care.
How do you share information with the families and encourage them to do same with you?
I keep communication open and two-way. I share updates daily through our communication platform or directly during drop-offs and pickups. I also encourage families to share anything happening at home, big or small, so I can respond to their child's needs more effectively in the setting.
How do your practices show families that their opinions are valued in the day-to-day care of their child?
I actively listen to families, include their input and decision making about their child's care, whether it's a change in routine, a cultural preferences, or new strategies. I acknowledge their suggestions, communication, how to apply them. This helps build strong, respectful relationship and show that their voice matters.
Now thinking about the cultural responsiveness, in what ways do you respect and incorporate each family's rearing practices while ensuring alignment with the service policies?
I learn about each family's approach through open conversation and try to incorporate their values practice into our daily routines where they're appropriate. I also make sure to explain our service policy clearly, and if there are differences, I collaborate with the families and find solution that works for everyone involved.
How do you ensure that team members across different shifts are informed about each child's routines, experiences, and family input?
We use shared documentation tools like digital logs, notebooks to record important updates. During staff handovers, we also verbally discuss any changes in a child's routine or family input. This helps maintain a smooth and consistent experience for each child across all shifts and educators.
What strategies do you use to create consistency and predictability in your daily routines with the children?
I use consistent language, visual cues, familiar songs to support transitions and routine times. These strategies help children understand what's happening next and give them a sense of control and stability throughout the day, which supports their emotional development.
Can you describe a time when predictable routine helped a child to regulate their emotions or manage a challenging moment?
I once worked with a child who became distressed during transition by introducing a consistent routine, including giving them a 5-minute warning and using a transition song. They started to feel more secure. Over time, these cues helped them manage their emotions and move more calmly between activities.
How do you observe and assess whether a child is feeling secure and emotionally settled within your daily routine?
I observe their body language, eye contact, willingness to engage in play, and how they respond to transition. A child who feels secure tends to be more relaxed, curious, and confident in their environment. I also check in with their families to see if this sense of security is carrying over to home life.
How do you balance predictability in your daily routines between the need to follow interest and emotional cues of the children?
I find that a flexible structure works best. While we follow a general daily flow, I allow space to extend activities when children are engaged or change pace if emotional needs arise. Being responsive in the way allows us to follow their lead while still offering the security of a predictable environment.
Thank you again for taking part in this interview. Your insights are incredibly valuable and will contribute meaningfully to my research. If you'd like to add anything else or reflect further, I would love to hear it.
Thank you.